Hello again, and welcome to another Red Cloud webinar. My name is Kobe Kushner. I'm part of the research team here at Red Cloud, and I'm delighted to be hosting Trillium Gold Mines. Joining us today is Russell Starr. He is the president and CEO of Trillium. He comes from a strong capital markets background. He moved on to take senior positions at explorers such as Caden and Orin. Now, Trillium is focused on Red Lake. They're actually the dominant landholder in the district amongst junior explorers. Even amongst the more senior companies, they're behind only Evolution Mining in terms of landholding. So for those who are unfamiliar with the area, let me briefly remind you here that Red Lake is one of the richest gold camps. Gold was discovered there in 1925, after which mining in the area was booming. In the 30s and 40s, there were about 12 producing gold mines, and at its peak, the historical Howie Bay Airport was actually the busiest airport in North America. We saw another gold rush in the late 90s, the early 2000s, when Goldcorp discovered the high-grade zone at its prolific Red Lake mine. This zone has a reserve grade of 80 plus grams a ton. So the mine is still going strong to the state under a new operator, and that's Evolution Mining. So to date, the district has produced about 30 million ounces of gold, and I'd argue that we're seeing another gold rush here. You know, last December, we had Pure Gold starting to pour gold at Madsen. We had Evolution buy up Battle North. A couple years back, we had Great Bear make what made what some believe to be a world-class discovery at Dixie. And a couple months ago, we saw Barrick starting to move into the area. They optioned off the South Uchi property from Kennerland. Then just weeks ago, they optioned off a couple more properties in the Confederation belt to the south, and Trillium has ground all around there. So during today's webinar, Russell is going to provide us with an overview and an update. And when he's done the presentation, we'll move over onto the Q&A session. Just a reminder that you can type your questions into the comment box at any time, and we'll try and get to as many as we can. But as usual, we have to first run through the fine print here. So during this webinar, forward-looking statements may be made. I would direct listeners to the forward-looking statements outlined on page 2 of the company's corporate deck, which we will see momentarily. For Red Cloud Securities, Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only. It should not be considered a solicitation or recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note that this call does not consider the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigation and seek their own professional advice before investing. Please see our most recent research located on the Red Cloud website for specific disclosures on Trillium Gold. And with that, I'll now turn it over to you, Russell.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to wait for my presentation to pop up here. I can't see it yet. Here we go. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Really appreciate your time. I like to pride myself on doing these actually very quickly and hitting the really key highlights so that everybody has a lot of time to answer questions or ask questions, and we can get some dialogue going. I'm a very laid-back presenter and do appreciate people interrupting me. I don't mind that at all. So if you have a question and really want to ask it quickly, just fire it into that Q&A box and we'll see if we can get to it. Where do we sit now today? We actually have closer to about 5.5 million in cash, fully diluted, only 58 million shares outstanding. That's a very, very tight float. And importantly, management and insiders control a good 40% of the company. Retail with another 40%, and then institutional ownership is about 20%. Us, like many other charts, have been a downward trend, although it looks like gold is perking up a bit. And with gold's recent move, we've actually managed to bounce off of our lows and jump a little bit higher up near $1. So our market cap is closer to 41 million on a basic basis, or 58 million fully diluted, which in my opinion is still extremely cheap for what we've put together. Really, truly, the key highlights are this map. As was acknowledged there by Kobe, Barrick has really just suddenly emerged in this jurisdiction. And I actually think that we are larger than evolution in terms of our land holdings now, especially after we put together this confederation belt land package. But really, truly, if you look at what we've done, we've effectively put together properties that sit on the major belts and structural deformations throughout the Red Lake camp. And truly, this reconstitution of the Confederation belt is literally the cherry on top of the icing or the ice cream. It's the crown jewel of this entire jurisdiction outside of these currently producing mines. You can see this red dot sort of in the middle, which is Great Bear. I'm just going to circle that for everybody so they can see that this is Great Bear. And then obviously you've got Barrick all over here, and then you have our land property basically sitting right on that dominant structure, right beside Barrick, and all the way up to Satterley Lake and Swain Lake. There are very few companies in the world that control dominant portions of greenstone belts. And I would say that on a hand, we are the only finger that controls the dominant portion of a greenstone belt in one of the most prolific jurisdictions in the world, basically encircled and close to infrastructure everywhere, which is why I'm just shocked at the valuation that we sit at today. But as I often say to people, if the capital markets were rational and efficient, no one would ever make money because everything would be fully priced. So therein lies the opportunity for us at Red Lake. What have we been focused on mostly, other than reconstituting that greenstone belt? We've been drilling at Newman, Todd, and Rivard, and we've been drilling at Gold Center. You can see Newman, Todd, and Rivard on this slide. Rivard is incredible. It's a success story for families all over Canada. It's for anybody who's as old as I am. It's like the Beverly Hillbillies of Red Lake. The Rivard family literally walked around and lived off of VG at surface on the Rivard property, which is spectacular in and of itself. And we are lucky enough to actually have that property as it sits right next to Newman Todd. But there's bonanza grade gold everywhere. You can see 0.3 meters of 561 grams per ton. That's just, I mean, immediately goes into production anywhere in the world. And what is Newman Todd? Well, when we inherited it, we actually didn't really know. All we knew is that the past driller, every second hole, they would hit high grade. And now what we know is in this grade shell you're looking at is basically a 2 million ounce global resource. It's not 43-101 compliant yet, but we have every aspiration and belief that we're going to take it to a 43-101 compliant, if not higher than 2 million. And quite frankly, our hope is higher than a gram and a half, and maybe even upwards of 2, just because of the amount of high grade that we're seeing. We recently press released 9 meters of 20 grams per ton, and like any horrible precious metal market, our stock actually went down, which is incredible to actually believe, because that's a world-class intercept anywhere. But what you can see here is that everything that's been drilled so far on this structure, Newman Todd structure, is basically from surface to 400 meters. So it's very open pittable, and quite frankly, it's open in all directions, which gives us the belief that we can actually make this substantially bigger. We now know, after spending a lot of time drilling, we inherited 55,000 meters of drilling. We've probably done another 15 ourselves. We now know that it's east-west structures that are controlling the mineralization in the Newman Todd structure, and wherever the Rivard, those high-grade VG veins, intercept both the Newman Todd structure and these east-west faults, you get these blowouts of high grade, very, very similar to Great Bear. The key difference is that they've identified numerous of these high grade shoots. We're on to about 2 of them right now, and quite frankly, their market cap's $1 billion and ours is 40 million. So I think there is a value proposition here, especially when you look at how many ounces we cobbled together in a global scenario, and where this could actually go just on Newman Todd alone, forgetting everything else that we have in our in our company project cupboard. In, as I mentioned, and Kobe mentioned, literally one of the most prolific gold jurisdictions in the world. We also have identified some major exploration targets that you can see here. We're currently drilling at Newman Todd. We had historically had 2 drills turning, but because of how little benefit we're getting to drilling plus 100 gram per ton intersections, we've gone down to 1 drill rig. Because if the investors aren't going to pay us for successful hits, then why would we spend too much money trying to drill them? And our hope is that as this gold market improves, and I think we all believe it's going to with what's going on, sort of the fiasco that's going on in the US with money printing, quite frankly, globally, that ultimately gold will rally and rally hard. And I would like to think that Newman Todd will eventually get paid for the endowment that it has in terms of high grade gold. And just to give you qualifications, when Newman Todd was being drilled by the previous driller, who is actually now drilling Great Bear, and you can see the hits: 16 of almost 8, 0.6 of 343, 13 of 7, 31 of 12 and a half. Those are incredible intercepts. The market cap of just Newman Todd, not including Rivard, just Newman Todd, this. Actually, I should clear this because the other one showed up there. So just this, not even including the Rivard project, was over $200 million. And here we sit today. We've added in incredible land packages. We've added in what we believe to be the continuation of the Red Lake mine, and our market cap's a fifth of what it was in 2010 to 2013. So again, just a major value proposition there. And we've recently just added in the Willis property, which if we can get this thin sliver of land from Evolution, we would tie together a major land package with the Newman Todd structure on it. I already showed you some of the historical hits. And I'm going to go now to Gold Center. So this is one of the only projects we own. We don't own 100% of. The other is Wolf Bay. We're 50-50 with Evolution. This is 80-20, ourselves owning 80% with Rupert. But this next picture is what tells the entire story. Here is the world famous Red Lake mine, 26 million ounces of greater than 15 grams per ton. Here's our property boundary. They're literally drilling and producing gold about 300 meters away from our property package. We are currently drilling it. We're drilling near the shallower areas, about kilometer holes up in this area here. And if we hit any small amount of gold, it's game on, and we likely have the continuation of one of the most prolific and richest mines in the entire world, owned by a large cap out of Australia, Evolution, and what was historically owned by Goldcorp, of course. With that, I'm going to stretch my legs a bit and open it up to questions. I often say to people that if you can't tell your story in 15 minutes, you shouldn't be telling it. And I managed to do it in 14 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks, Russell, for telling your story here. As you said, we'll now start the Q&A portion of the webinar. And just a reminder to everyone on the line that you can type your questions into the chat box at any time.
So I've got one from
Russell,
Glenn.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to, I see one, excuse me, from Glenn. Are the presentation slides downloadable? Yes, they're on our website. trilliumgold.com. You can go to the top right-hand corner of our website and download the entire presentation. William has asked if there are any financing needs. We sit with $5.5 million in our treasury. Obviously, like any exploration company, ultimately, eventually we will need to raise more money, but we should be good until 2022, early 2022. Come on, everyone. There's here we go. Is the company open to a JV on a project? Absolutely not. JVs are, in my opinion, one of the worst ways to destroy value. And I know that's maybe not what people want to hear, or especially other companies who have in fact JV'd. But when you JV away your upside, especially when you have a world-class property package like this, you effectively give away that percentage of your upside. We'd rather dilute and finance, and quite frankly, finance ourselves if we have to create value. When do we expect the closing of the infinite lithium properties? Any day now. For lack of a better way of putting it, we kind of operate like a mid-tier or a major. We're extremely fastidious. I learned from Caden when we sold Caden to Agnico that you need to keep a pristine data room, and consequently we approach the acquisition and integration of properties basically like a mid-tier or major, and are very, very fastidious about how we deal with each cell, each staked piece of land. So it's coming like any day now. Could be tomorrow, could be today. And what is my take on Barrick's moves? Look, they've JV'd now the Kenora land, Dixie Gold, and I think Red Lake Gold land. To my point earlier, I mean, look, they're a world-class company. They're very, very smart. I think they recognize what we recognize, and that is that the future of Canadian gold production, or a big chunk of it, is going to come from Red Lake. And it's really unfortunate that investors are paying no attention to this sector, because gold prices are even, like, people are waiting for higher gold prices, but historically speaking, we're basically at all-time highs or near all-time highs. So the mid-tiers and the majors are making money hand over fist, but they have to replenish their project cupboard. They run out of production in the next 2 years, next year, 2 years. And consequently, they have to make acquisitions. They have to pick up properties. And Barrick's moves, I think, are simply to position themselves in arguably one of the best jurisdictions in the world, with infrastructure everywhere. And quite frankly, I think that the pop in our share price has as much to do with gold prices improving as it does just Barrick stepping into the jurisdiction, and people realizing that literally we are like the best positioned company in Red Lake, other than Evolution, to benefit from them moving in.
Yeah, Russell,
can
if you
you
wouldn't
comment
mind
on
reminding us, where do you guys
Yep.
sit location-wise? Where do you sit in terms of, you know, the land that Barrick just optioned off?
Can you put my presentation back up? Yep, got it. So hang on. It takes a while. I got to go back slide by slide. I'll answer how much is in the assay lab from Serge. We probably have 6,000 meters in the assay lab. The assay labs have been horrible because the majors are drilling so much. They get all of their assays dealt with first, and so juniors have to sit and wait. We have another 6,000 meters probably of drilling, and we have 6,000 meters in the assay lab. Barrick is here. And then Dixie Gold and I believe Red Lake Gold are kind of in here. So you could argue that Barrick is completely adjacent to that Confederation belt package that we've reassembled, if that makes sense. Is the share float available to the public? Only the 20% retail, all the remaining shares in the hands of Cornerstone. So institutionally, honestly, I have no idea where people sit. What I can remark on is that about 60% of the float is in management and really, really tight shareholders. So if you're looking at the 40 million shares outstanding, 40% might be the float, 30%. So that's 12 million shares ish. But it's a tightly held float. I would hesitate and challenge almost anyone who says they know exactly where their float sits today, just because literally the entire world has been exiting this space, despite the fact that it's at all-time lows. Which, in my opinion, I mean, I guess I've been successful theoretically doing what I do. It's always been by buying low, not buying high, and the opportunity to pick up cheap, really good companies such as ours in this space is pretty compelling right now.
Russell, can you give us a hint as to what your exploration plans are for next year?
Drill. We definitely need to explore and drill that confederation package, which has historically been viewed as a VMS structure. If you talk to the old timers, they'd say, no, that's always been gold. But recently, for whatever reason, people attributed it to VMS or base metals. And so there's a bunch of 43-101s on it for copper, nickel, zinc, that kind of stuff, with gold showings everywhere, but no one ever followed up on them. So we'll be following up on those gold showings on the Confederation Belt. And really what's changed that dominant theme has been the Dixie discovery at Great Bear, and shown the world that in this traditional VMS belt, or what people viewed as a VMS belt, you could actually have world-class gold discoveries. Look, we want to take Newman Todd to a 2 million plus ounce 43-101. And with a little bit of luck, we'll have shown the world that Gold Center is the continuation of the world famous Red Lake mine, which into itself is probably a 5-bagger for our current company valuation. So literally we hit any amount of gold at Gold Center, and this is probably a $200 million market cap company just because of the strategic value of that property package.
Right, and I guess on the subject of Confederation rocks and how it's traditionally viewed as VMS only, and now people are starting to recognize that it's also prospective for world-class gold discoveries. As far as I'm aware, you guys are the only company in Red Lake that's actively exploring both Confederation Belt and Balmer Belt. Maybe touch on that. Let's talk optionality here.
Well, the Balmer volcanics, or the Balmer geological setting is effectively the setting that all of the discoveries other than Dixie sit in, and have created Pure Gold as a mining camp, Battle North, which was Rubicon, and of course Red Lake in general. So Newman Todd literally is a Balmer discovery. It has all the characteristics of the Red Lake high-grade veins. It just happens to sit within what's called a stromatolite, a massive breccia body that's actually been known for quite some time. It's just that when you're mining 15 gram per ton gold, 25 kilometers away, you ignore the 2 gram per ton gold. But now that we're starting to hit sort of that 30 of 12, 20 of 9, or 9 of 20, 7 of 15, people I think are going to start taking notice of Newman Todd, and my suspicion is, and the worst kept secret on Bay and Wall Street right now is that there's a major that's coming after Great Bear. I think if that happens, our company probably goes parabolic, just because we are the best positioned company to take advantage of that, other than these already producing opportunities like Pure Gold. Well, Battle North is now Evolution. And then the Confederation package is where all of the heat is coming, other than, I guess, Pure Gold, Battle North, Newman Todd. Dixie is Confederation package discovery. Great Bear, is $1 billion or close to $1 billion market cap. Prosper, to the north of us, has, I believe, a higher market cap than we do. I don't even think they've drilled yet. And then of course you've got First Mining, which has Springpole, which is another 5 million ounce discovery, low grade. Well, I call it low grade, 1.5 gram, 2 gram per ton discovery, open pittable. They have some environmental issues though. But yes, our view was, you can't have as much gold in these other areas as well as the Dixie discovery and not have another 1, 2, or 3 potential Dixies on that Confederation belt. It's just not the way Mother Nature operates. She tends to repeat herself. And with all of the other discoveries, as well as what you're seeing now in the Confederation belt, we just had to take advantage of the opportunity to consolidate that. So, despite the fact that we've done this, despite the fact that, in my opinion, we've created tremendous value, it's just an industry right now that's on its knees. And I think M&A is probably going to change that. And with a little bit of luck, we'd be one of those targets. Who knows when, who knows how, who knows who. But ultimately, like I was commenting, and you're fully aware, the majors face a really dire situation. They run their production portfolios are running out, and they have to restock that project cupboard. And the only way to do it is with acquisitions. And there aren't many mid tiers that are available. And so you're going to have to look to the junior market for those discoveries. Just quickly, Glenn had asked, what percentage of the available exploration funds will be apportioned to the overall project holding base? We try to put 80 to 90% of all of our dollars into the ground and keep a really lean ship. Glenn, Serge, what would some of the other priority targets be other than Newman, Todd, and Gold Center? Well, it's the Confederation Belt. There's gold all over that. Like I said, people were looking at it as a base metals opportunity. I think that was a flawed perspective. And so we'll be reinvigorating that and bringing all of that historical information to the forefront, as well as obviously following up on those what I believe are probably discoveries that they just never followed up on. And Glenn is 2022 gold centers. I mean, Glenn, the answer is all of our, we have one of the best project cupboards in the world, subject to financing and cash availability. We'll be looking to do as much as we can on everything we have. And yes, Serge, this is a great comment. I'm going to read it out. Excellent sense of acquiring such a land package in Red Lake. I'm sure will pay off eventually. I agree. It's the only, I always say this laughingly and jokingly, is the market can be wrong far longer than I can be solvent. But the reality is, we have a great company, we have a great land package, and we're very judicious on how we spend. And we'll look to bring value anywhere and everywhere we can, subject to what the market permits us to do.
Right, and I have a question here. So,
yep.
And for this resource, you spoke about having a 2 million ounce global resource at Newman, Todd. Mm-hmm. And you want to get that compliant. Are you guys looking at just keeping it an open pittable resource, or are you looking at an open pit with maybe some underground resources underneath it?
Well, that's the perfect world scenario with the high grade shoots that we're seeing. And just so everyone knows that we hit 7 of 15, we stepped out, we hit 9 of 20, we've stepped out again, and if we hit on that step out, we've clearly identified a very high-grade shoot, very analogous to what you see at Great Bear. The more we can find of those, the more that your thesis, Kobe, comes into play, and that is start with an open pit and then you go underground following these high-grade shoots. And that's where you turn that 2, 3, 4, 5 million ounce open pit scenario into an 8, 9, 10 million ounce opportunity. And then you can also drive economics by cherry picking the high grade. And when you've got the Rivard veins that you can follow and track from Rivard, you create even more economic value. So I think the market's completely missing this opportunity, and it's our job to bring it to the forefront.
And maybe if you want to just wrap it up and tell us your favorite things
Sure.
you like about Trillium and why people should be paying attention today.
Well, number one is the best place to look for gold is where they found gold, and we are looking in literally one of the most prolific gold discovery jurisdictions in the world. Number two, that follows that is there's infrastructure everywhere. So in terms of economics and actually putting something into production, your costs are substantially decreased by being in a jurisdiction that has excellent infrastructure, and then on top of that, in my opinion, we have kind of one of those perfect world scenarios where we have advanced exploration, maybe even near-term production. When you look at Gold Center, advanced exploration in Newman, Todd, and then just this world-class exploration opportunity in the Confederation Belt, all wrapped up in an extremely cheap 40 million. Well, I guess it would be 60 million fully diluted opportunity that was trading literally just on Newman Todd alone in 2013 for $200 million. So You know, we're hitting high grade. We've put the land package together. You've got majors stepping into the jurisdiction. I can't think of a better way to catalyze or create value than drilling in that type of a scenario, and that's what we've done.
For sure. And with that, I think we'll end it there. Russell, pleasure having you. And that was probably the first time where we had someone that kind of moderated their own session, and you did a really good job at that.
There's one last. Glenn just came out with SRK report. Yeah. Glenn, if you want to read the world's worst pre-fees, go right ahead. The SRK report missed 80% of the mineralization and put out, I think, a 200,000 ounce 43-101. It was simply driven. This was a 50-50 JV. It was a $200 million market cap, and Confederation, which is now us, in 2013 had the right to take their ownership to 70% by putting out a pre-fees. And so they rushed, like I said, the world's worst pre-fees, but go for it. It's garbage, it's junk, but feel free to read it.
Right.
Sorry, Glenn. I hate to rain on your parade, but if you want to fall asleep quickly and read something that's completely meaningless, go for it.
All right. So yeah, thanks again, Russell. It was a pleasure hosting you.
You bet.
And to our viewers, if you want to learn our thoughts on Trillium, as well as some other companies that we watch, we do publish all of our research on our website. It's totally free of charge. Just a reminder that our next webinar will take place tomorrow midday when our very own Dave Talbot sits down with Broad Ahead Lithium. That's November 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Red Cloud. Thanks, Kobe, and all the listeners.
Cheers.